Alright, well, it looks like I'm live, I think. Not 100% sure, but we're going with it. So, hello everyone, my name's Protomagicalgirl, and this is Mega Man 5. I'm gonna reset the console to prevent a dumb glitch later. And we will get going in 3, 2, 1, go. I totally just hit a live split hotkey, but I don't have live split open. Oops. So we're going to be starting in Starman stage. So Mega Man 5 only has one route for your Robot Master order. Starman first is absolutely essential to this run. I already made a small mistake, no big deal. I already made another small mistake because Starman stage is impossible. A thing you're going to notice throughout this game is that Mega Man 5 just loves bombarding you with small enemies. So when things go wrong, they go horribly wrong. Like that. Anyways, so I said there's only one Robot Master Order, but there are actually two routes for this game. One's called Beat, and one... Yeah, okay. I was gonna die there. That was a really... The second screen was kind of bad, but that's okay. We're getting the silly deaths out of the way early, so that this run can be super good. So there are two routes. Oy vey. Oh my gosh, these mets. I swear I warmed up for this, I promise. Beat route and beatless route. You may have noticed that before I died like an idiot, I collected a letter. I forget which letter it was. In this game, there's a letter in every Robot Master stage. If you collect all of them, it spells out Rockman 5. And once you get to the castle stages with all 8 letters, they allow you to summon Beat, a bird, who's really useful. I'll talk more about Beat later. So we are doing the Beat route, not the beatless route. The beatless route can be faster if you get like 5% luck. Anyways, we made it through that kind of frustrating stage. So here's Starman. Starman has a shield, but it's not a very good one. In this game with the Buster, your highest damage per second is with fully charged shots, so this is the only Buster fight that we're going to be doing in the entire game, but we're going to be using fully charged shots for it. Also worth noting with the Buster is that it charges really quickly, but if you take damage, you lose your charge. So when you're using the Buster, you have to be kind of careful in that regard. Also worth noting is that if you are sliding while charging the Buster isn't actually increasing its charge. So if you ever see me charging the Buster and, you know, sliding poorly or just walking entirely, that's probably because I'm charging the Buster. And now that's my excuse for why I'm bad at slide chaining. No one will ever know. So now that we have Star Crash and the Super Arrow, the most important weapon in the game, we're moving on to Gravity Man stage. One really cool small thing about this game is that on the boss select screen there, you can actually buffer directional inputs, even diagonals, so you can never mess up a stage menu in this game. Gravity Man stage, great music, has some really cool and somewhat difficult movement, so we're gonna do our best. So the reason we went to Starman first is to get this, the Super Arrow. The Super Arrow is a plunger that you can ride on, and it just is the best weapon in Mega Man. It's one of the best weapons. I'm a big fan of the Mega Ball, which, if you're watching this marathon all week, you will see me show off on Sunday in Mega Man 8. Anyways, the Super Arrow is really cool. You can ride it. The biggest issue with the Super Arrow is its extremely high ammo consumption, as you can see. But if you slide repeatedly off the arrow, you actually reduce that consumption. That being said, for a stretch as long as that, there's no way to make the arrow survive. We don't need it anymore, though. So basically, this entire game, in terms of route, is get the Super Arrow as soon as possible, which is why we did Starman first, and then use it in every stage to the greatest effect you can. Kind of a tricky jump there. The upside-down platforming is... Physics-wise, it feels as good as, you know, regular platforming, like, on the ground, but it throws you for a loop. If you've ever played a game with gravity platforming, you know it's difficult for no reason. This is Gravity Man. We are going to crash into him with the Star Crash repeatedly. Done. Easy fight. Coming up next is Gyro Man, where we're going to have our first relatively complicated arrow setup, I think. This game is really cool. I run like 7 Mega Man games now, but I love this one a lot. 3D spinning Mega Man is super great. So yeah, for Gyro Man, I think one thing worth noting is that there are some limitations on the slide in this game. So in this game, you can jump out of a slide. If you press slide and then press jump, you'll jump out. The limitations on this are you cannot jump out of a slide when you are underwater, which is going to be relevant later, in front of a ladder, or behind a foreground cloud, which is going to be relevant later in the stage. Don't ask me why, but that's just how it works. So there's a couple of spots in this stage and in other stages later in the run where we're going to have to be careful to not try and jump out of a slide in certain spots. We save 1 ammo here, which is just enough to do that and saves us a little bit of platforming. Then we arrow up and smack that one in the face. And with this arrow, we are going to ride all the way over here. Take out our Buster. The Buster, as I kinda mentioned, is really good in this game. The charge is super fast, and the fully charged Buster does a ton of damage. I missed the charge shot there, no big deal. So we're gonna be using it almost everywhere. When we're not using, I messed up. Oh dear. I'm just gonna do that screen again. These power musclers are big jerks. If you get hit once, you're basically just gonna get stun looped. I totally lost track of what I was saying. The Buster is really good in this game. So basically, whenever we're not using the super arrow, we're almost always going to be using the Buster. Another quirk of the slide I should mention, and you may have noticed this or heard this from my super clacky controller, is that when you transition a screen, your slide starts over. You don't carry slides between screens, so I'm always going to be sliding at the beginning of every screen. Cool. So this platform here, you cannot jump out of a slide on because it's behind that cloud. If you do, you will die. You will fall off the platform and die every time. So Gyro Man fight coming up here. We're going to be using Gravity Man's weapon because this whole route is simply weakness order. Gravity Man's weapon is our kind of screen killer of this game. So all we have to do is this. Ow. Easy. Next up is maybe the hardest stage in the run for me is Crystal Man. I'm going to be hoping things go well. If they don't, it's honestly pretty hard to backup strat. So we'll see what happens, but I could lose a couple minutes. We have to do 2 pretty complicated arrow setups in Crystal, and if you miss them, you don't really have backups. We'll see what happens, though. I was practicing it before the stream and never messed it up. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. One of the major time saves in the beat route or the beatless route over the beat route is that in this stage you can actually do an arbitrary code execution credits warp on this screen, or not credits warp, just like stage warp on this screen where you can basically warp to the boss gate. It's a really neat trick, and if we have extra time after, I could possibly show it off. Okay. That's fine. We should still have enough arrow. Yes, okay. We just need 3. The super arrow costs 2, but if you only have 1, you can still fire an arrow, so we can do that. Gonna switch to Rush Jet here, gonna do our first Rush Jet jump. Rush Jet jumps are a common technique in this game, as well as Mega Man 4 in particular. By pressing jump and then fire with certain timing, you can basically spawn Rush really high up and land on Rush, and it's really useful as a vertical maneuvering technique, because in case you haven't noticed, Mega Man isn't very good at vertical maneuvering. He can walk, shoot, and slide. His jump isn't particularly amazing. We just picked up an M-Tank. M-Tanks are really important for later in this run. They refill all of your weapons, which means your super arrow, and your health. We're going to be using multiple M-Tanks during the castle stages when our ammos stop refilling between stages. That was really sloppy. So I should probably talk about the Gyro Blade, this weapon that I'm using, in case you haven't noticed that it kind of has been flying off in the wrong direction. That's because with this weapon, you fire it forward, and then you can tap up or down to redirect it. You only get to redirect it once, though. So fighting with the Gyro Blade is rather difficult because you have to be maneuvering Mega Man and the blade. But that being said, it's not too much of an issue. We got through Crystal. Like I said, that might be the hardest stage in the run for me. Runner-up would be Dark 3, which we'll get to in, I don't know, like 20 minutes or something? Next up, so we've finished our first 4 Robot Masters. Next up is going to be Napalm Man. One of my favorite stages, some really cool music, a really awesome boss fight, and the stage that got this game banned in Vietnam, for reasons you might be able to figure out. Don't quote me on that fact, it could be a different country. I'm not a historian. So, reminder, you can't charge the Buster while sliding, so we did a little walk at the beginning there to make sure we got that full charge. These tigers are best dealt with a full charge, because otherwise they are going to damage you and they hit like a truck. We're going to do a small cycle skip here. By moving really fast on this screen and killing those 2 efficiently, we get across to the end of the screen before a 3rd one can spawn. Then we have a neat little arrow setup on this screen. These waterfalls do not actually break your slide cancels, unlike in Mega Man 4, believe it or not. You'd think these games would all use a similar engine, but they really don't. Cool, we've done the hard arrow, now we have an easy arrow. Just get up here and comfortably sail over that, I forget what that enemy is called. Grab the letter, because as a reminder, we need all 8 of them. There's only one that I'm particularly worried about, and that's the one that's at the end of the wave auto-scroller. Yeah, there's an auto-scroller in this game, which is rather unfortunate, and there's a letter in it, so if you miss that letter, you have to go do the whole thing again. Anyways, that's not gonna happen, so... Switch to Crystal Eye, which is Crystal Man's weapon, and Napalm Man's weakness. Gotta be brave for that last section. If you're cowardly, you're more likely to mess up, so you just go for it and you'll get it every time. Those missiles have the same pattern every time. This is the Napalm Man fight. I'm gonna let this fight kind of speak for itself because it's just really cool and dynamic. Napalm Man's pattern is not super predictable, but he only has 2 things that he can do, so you kind of learn to maneuver around and hit with Crystal. If you miss with Crystal, it will break and then reflect around the room. The smaller crystal pieces do less damage, but they do damage. But it is, in general, if you miss, it's faster to open the pause menu instead of letting the crystals fly off the screen. Now that we have Napalm Man's weapon, we are going to go to Stone Man's stage. Because we have bombs, so we can break rocks. A tried and true Mega Man tradition, Gutsman and Bomb Man, who you might see later. So Stone Man stage at the beginning here, there's 3 really technical jumps, so let's see how many I can get. 1, 2, okay. Got one of the really hard ones and the easier one. That's fine. It's not a big deal. And we got that one, which is essentially similar to the ones on the first screen. Go through the fake wall here to grab the ladder. And if we maneuver fast, we can just pop right up there. In almost every Mega Man game, you can hop out of your ladder climb animation a little bit early. Like, Mega Man has a couple frames of animation where he's, like, mounting the top of the ladder. And if you press jump during that, Mega Man will do a little hop. If you don't do that, when Mega Man reaches the top of the ladder, he'll have a couple dead frames where he can't move. So in every Mega Man game, you want to be... I missed that mouse, no big deal. In every Mega Man game that I've run, at least, you want to be hopping off of ladders. The Super Arrow, in addition to being an awesome platforming tool, is really useful as a weapon in some cases, as you saw there. Got another Rush Jet jump coming up here in a second. This is kind of the standard form of a Rush Jet jump. Ah, I messed up the timing. No big deal. If I do everything right, you will never see Rush Coil in this run. With the Super Arrow being a thing, and with Rush Jet giving you such good vertical movement capability. That was a nice Rush Jet jump. Rush Coil is basically irrelevant. Gonna use Gravity Hold here to make it smoothly through this screen. And then switch to... oh, nice menu. Then switch to Napalm Mom. No worries about my health, this fight isn't very hard. Stone Man's pattern is a little bit random. He's gonna do a large jump and then crumble. Then after this, what height of jump he does is random. If he gives us a high jump like that, he's gonna crumble. That's what we don't want. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That was important. Firing 3 napalm bombs there is going to prevent something called the arrow glitch from happening. That is also why I reset the console at the beginning of this run. If the game gets to a certain point in the opening cutscene, it can also set up the arrow glitch. Now the arrow glitch isn't going to happen. As far as I know, it is guaranteed, so we'll see what happens. I don't know why it happens, but basically what can happen is you can just, like, clip through arrows. Don't know why. This is Charge Man stage. He's a train. Best music in Mega Man 5 right here. Actually, you know what? I'm not too sure about that opinion because Wily 3-4 exists. This game has excellent music, just in general. Okay, that was kind of a mistake. We're gonna set up a relatively precise arrow here. I think that was... yeah, that was too low. Okay, no big deal. We're gonna... I haven't messed this up in a while. Ow. No big deal. Just gonna use Crystal. I dedicate this animal room to Aperture Girls, who's doing tech right now, because Aperture Girls is a good boy. This room is really technical and very impressive when it's done right, I think, so hopefully you're thinking this is pretty cool, because this is a really clean animal room. You want to jump standing to grab that letter. If you jump from a slide, it's actually sub-pixel randomness as to whether or not you'll actually be able to grab the letter, which is kind of silly in my IMO. Also, Met Trains are the best form of Met in the Mega Man series. Don't at me. Make sure we get a fully charged Buster there. In this next room, we are going to take damage from this missile, which only does 3 damage instead of 6 that the body of that nice menu missile does. It's not a big deal, but if the Charge Man fight goes wrong, it's pretty hard to recover, so I'm going to play it safe. So this is Charge Man. The Charge Man fight wouldn't be that bad, but the Power Stone is literally the worst weapon in classic Mega Man. You fire it, and then it proceeds outward in a spiral, which is absolutely useless. So we're going to be pause canceling it in order to get extra hits out. Yeah. Oh my god, this fight. There we go. No big deal. Like I said, there's a pretty specific pattern you can do that will get essentially the same results from Charge Man every time, but if you mess it up like I did, it can kind of go haywire. No big deal, only 1 Robot Master left. That's Wave Man, and Wave Man is the auto-scroller letter I mentioned. So we're just gonna hope for the best. I've never missed it in a run. Not a single time. So, we'll see what happens. Wave Man stage is also home to a really neat trick called Bubble Skip. Bubble Skip is gonna save 10 seconds by basically skipping a really small auto-scroller where we're riding bubbles upward. If you're familiar with Mega Man 9, you may understand what I'm talking about. I'm gonna attempt it once. I'm not super good at it, so I might not get it. It's not a huge deal if I miss it. I just kind of fall back down and lose a bunch of time, but hey, that's what estimates are for. So this is the Charge Kick, one of my favorite weapons in classic Mega Man. The shoot button does nothing. I'm actually sliding to activate this weapon, which I think is just super cool. You can slide through enemies and stuff like that. So, in order to do Bubble Skip, I am going to see those small bubbles. As you saw, the small bubbles pop when you stand on them, but if you stand on one at the right time, you can still transition the screen. Now, I messed it up. That's okay. I was a little bit too late. We've got plenty of arrow. We can go for it again. We've had a good run up to this point. Let's try and get this. This trick is really cool when done right. Okay, I messed up, so yeah, we're just gonna back up strats. No big deal, like I said, that trick is hard. Oh, now I don't have any arrow, that's okay. Normally you'd just use an arrow and ride all the way over here. Cool, now we're on a boat. This is an auto-scroller, where we're gonna fire a lot of shots. I meant to talk about earlier why Mega Man games are in shots fired. Mega Man can do 3 things: jump, shoot, and slide. He is approximately 33% shots fired. And gosh dang, if that isn't a fit for this marathon, I don't know what is. want to be at the edge of the screen there to get into this mini-boss as soon as possible. With the boat, you can't actually charge the Buster. You can't use any of your special weapons. That was a really good fight, though. So yeah, you just want to be hitting it as much as possible by doing some pretty specifically timed jumps in order to be hitting this very small hitbox, which is only its eyes. Okay, so the last letter in the run is on this screen coming up. So yeah, if I miss it, I'm gonna have to, like, take a death and do this whole auto-scroller again, and it will be incredibly shameful. So I'm not gonna miss it. This is my plan. 2 dolphins, and got it. Cool. We are officially on Beat route. You will see Beat first in the second castle stage in Dark 2. Okay, so I don't have a lot of health, which is a little bit disconcerting. Because of the way the charge kick works, you are inevitably gonna take damage. It is a contact damage-based weapon. I think the smarter decision here is I'm going to just take a death instead of wasting my 1 safety E-tank. I only have 1. I'll get a couple more later in the run, but I want 1 for the first couple dark stages just in case something goes wrong. Like I said all the way back in Starman stage... No, I shouldn't have switched early. This game has a ton of small enemies, and what that means for us as speedrunners is a ton of 1-up drops. As you can see, I've died twice now, and I still have 4 lives. So we are absolutely fine in terms of lives. It's dang near impossible to game over in this run, unless you're in the first couple stages, in which it might be possible. But I've died twice, I have 4 lives, so we're fine. So that was our 8 Robot Masters. Next up is the 4 dark stages. Proto-Man, the plot of this game is that Proto-Man, and by Proto-Man I mean Proto-Magical-Alt, my evil twin, has kidnapped Dr. Light, and has erected a fortress in her image. And so her minions, the Darkman 78s, shoutouts to Darkman 78, have, you know, set up in this fortress. It's a Mega Man game. We have to fight our way through. So there's a lot of tigers on this screen. What this means is we're going to be not sliding at some pretty specific times to make sure that we get fully charged shots, because, again, dealing with tigers without fully charged shots is a completely futile affair. Oh, I messed that up. That's no big deal. Okay, we got out of the way. On this screen, I'm not actually going to be moving... Oh, hi there. Not actually going to be moving up with Rush as much as you might think, because moving up increases lag, which is, you know, interesting for sure. Do a little Rush Jet jump there to make it up here. Spawn Rush, fire a shot, and that'll hit that enemy before it compresses. Gonna skip that health because I'm good at video games or something. Oh, I ended up on Rush. Got a rather precise damage boost coming up right here. Okay, we got it. You just basically, you have to make sure... Wow, I'm having trouble getting slides off. You gotta make sure you kind of land on the upper ledge, is basically the trick to that. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Once again, fire shots early. These 2 enemies... They will destroy casual players, but basically the trick with them is to ignore them. If you try and fight them, they're gonna run around you in circles and hit you. So this is Dark 1. It's a tank. What would a marathon about shooting games be without a bunch of tanks? Honestly. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to my health. Oops. That's okay, we have plenty of wave. The smarter strategy there would have been to... go the top route in that final room and grab a health pickup, but, you know. Okay, I don't have plenty of wave, actually. This is bad. This is why we get a safety E-tank. There we go. Okay, nothing happened. We're totally fine. Whew. We're good. It's good. It's fine. We're all good. Next up is Dark 2. You know, the second Dark stage. It's pretty standard stuff. We are making our way towards Protomagicalgirl's lair so we can defeat her and take our place as the one true Protomagicalgirl. And also rescue Dr. Light, I guess. Yo, we got the ladder jump there. Those shield enemies, if you get up really close to them, you can fire a shot behind their shield, kind of like we did with Starman way back at the beginning of the run. You're going to be seeing that technique a couple times throughout the dark stages, because there's a bunch of those enemies. Met trains. Any stage with Met trains is a good stage in my IMO. So this is a really scary screen. Gonna kind of do a little jump there at kind of the midway. What that's gonna do is ensure that we don't end up dying because the enemy we killed dropped, you know, a drop. If you get a drop there, it can kind of throw you off and you will end up falling in a pit and it'll be bad and everyone will be sad. So we're just gonna make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm holding the start button, or the shoot button, by the way, through that slide, and as you can see, the Buster did not charge. Strat for this room is to basically respawn each enemy each time. There's a really fancy fast strat, but I'm not gonna get into that. Do a nice little slide up to the ledge there. Alright, so this final screen of the stage, we're going to be doing a bunch of damage boosts because there's tigers, and charging the Buster is kind of slow. And now it's time for Beat the Bird. Our most powerful gun is literally just a bird. So chat, if you could do me a favor, and from now until the end of the run, every time Beat is on screen, if you could spam Borb W, that's B-O-R-B in lowercase letters, and then a capital W, I would be really happy. Beat is the best bird, even if he is kind of a stupid bird. Beat tracks enemies, and I will get into more detail on how Beat's tracking works during the final boss fight. But yeah, Beat is going to be useful for Dark 2, Dark 4, and Wily. Beat is also actually in Mega Man 6, but Beat is useless in Mega Man 6, so oh well. This is Dark 3, the other maybe hardest stage in the run TM. We have 3 really complicated arrow shots in this stage. So we're gonna see what can happen. First, I'm gonna do a neat little strat here. Nice, I got it. You have to move really well there to basically dodge that explosion. Fire behind the shield. Oh, hi there. Okay, good. We're good. We almost had to do the rush coil of shame. If you miss that kind of little skip, you have to rush coil. Alright, so here's arrow number 1. Backwards damage boost. Then in this room, we're going to use arrows because menuing is slow. And here's arrow number 2, maybe the most difficult one. I'm going to slide under here, then back it up, take damage, and do some comfy, super easy, super free, not at all scary one-tile slides over spikes. There's no restriction on one-tile slides in Mega Man 5. As soon as you're sliding, you're allowed to jump out once you press the jump button. That is not true of other Mega Man games such as Mega Man 3 or Mega Man 6. So I talked about a little earlier how I'm a multi-mega runner. One of the trickiest things about running multiple of these games is that how there are all these subtle differences in the physics engines. I'm gonna grab that E-Tank because I used my safety. There's so many subtle differences in the physics engine that when you do multi-runs, like a 1 through 6 or whatever, you have to keep track of all of them. We're gonna face left here, and damage boost. That's a fun strat. And then we have maybe the most annoying boss, in the second most annoying boss, actually. This is Dark 3. Dark 3 fires Cheerios? I don't know what the community lore is. But dodging and maneuvering around this boss and using the gyro blade is rather difficult. Okay, we got a good like stun lock pattern there. That's kind of what you want to happen. You want to just jump over, fire, then fire standing and repeat. The boss can jump around a lot. If you get hit by those Cheerios, you'll be frozen in place for like 5 seconds or something, or until you take damage. It's really frustrating. Thankfully, we didn't get hit there. All right, now we're done with all of the hardest stages in the run. Dark 4 is a super mini stage with this really interesting gimmick of these breakable blocks that collapse the floor. Do a nice full shot there, and that. The problem with this stage that prevents this from being like unequivocally super cool is that there seems to be some, like, subpixel or frame rule weirdness that makes it sort of inconsistent whether or not you actually hit the block. Anyways, here's Protomagicalgirl. And we are here to claim our place as the one true Protomagicalgirl and also rescue our dad. So it's time to fight. Also prepare your Borb W's. What? What's this? That's the actual Proto-Man? Oh no, Protomagicalgirl was one of the dark units all along. Okay, anyways. This boss has 2 attacks. It can throw its shield and jump like that, or fire bullets. It's random which one it does, but all you really have to do is jump at a certain time and let Beat finish the fight. What a good bird. Cool, we're gonna stand right there. Right exactly there, which is the perfect position for us to be in for this cutscene. So now is the perfect time to talk about version differences. There's a US version of this game in English and a Japanese version in Japanese. Makes sense, right? The Japanese version, because of this cutscene and this cutscene alone, saves 18 seconds, which is why we've been playing Rockman 5 instead of Mega Man 5. Oh no, it was Dr. Wily all along. I'm so surprised. Wow, what a plot twist. Anyways, now we have the 4 Dr. Wily stages, but 2 of them are really, really short, so it's really 2 stages and then some fights left. But these 2 Wily stages are not to be underestimated. Like, don't think the run is over just because we finished Dark 3? Dark 3 is maybe the hardest stage left in the game once you finish Crystal, but Wily's 1 and 2 are not to be trifled with. Gonna grab an E-Tank and grab that M-Tank. M-Tanks, as a reminder, super useful, super necessary. Wouldn't be a Mega Man game without a Spike Fall. We have had another one, in fact, in Crystal Stage. That one's a little bit harder. Ow. It's faster to use fully charged shots there, so I just walk instead of sliding. Coming up, we're gonna have a pretty precise arrow that's gonna take us through this sort of tunnel thing. First, hi Twitch chat. I hope you're having a nice day. Long refills. Okay, good. So now we just sit here. I'm gonna save my extra super arrow. Use 1 to climb this wall, 1 to kill this enemy, and 1 to fly. That room lags a lot. This game lags a lot. So now we have the Crusher room. This room is real... Yeah, okay. Gosh. I was like, oh, it's fine. It's not fine. Oh, gosh, I don't have backup strats for this. Oh, we don't need backup strats. Aw, yeah. Thanks, game. Okay, never mind, we need backup strats. It's fine. It's okay. Sometimes life happens and you just gotta rush jet really slowly across the screen. Alright, so I'm gonna take this a little slower this time, I guess. The crushers in this game are not as generous as in Mega Man 4. In Mega Man 4, you can, like, slide through, basically through the crushers and not die. In Mega Man 5, you don't get as much of an affordance of safety. Alright, so now it's time for the most important jump in the game. This is the vegan room, because this is the chicken jump, and I messed the chicken jump up. We still jump the chicken, though. No big deal. Oh, by the way, for those who are counting in the lore, that's not my menu. This stage is called Purple Heck. Or Lavender Heck, excuse me. Because of its similarities to Purple Hell from Mega Man 2. This is Big Pets. I'm gonna try something pretty cool with Big Pets. So to defeat Big Pets, you need to open its eyes by using both of these platforms, and then hit it with crystals. Okay. I wanted to try and basically get 3 hits while I was inside of it, and then get inside of it again to finish the fight. I'm gonna play it safe instead of losing all of my health, but yeah, if you just fire a crystal into the lower one, it will zip you up into the boss. There's no fancy trick to that, you literally just fire the shot, and then you just have to move quickly and fire crystals with good timing. So next up is Wily 2. We're gonna have a water section in the stage. You remember what I said about water earlier, Twitch chat? That's right, Twitch chat. You can't cancel slides while you're in water. You're so smart and such good listeners, Twitch chat. Thank you. Hardest jump in the game. So yeah, we cannot we cannot jump out of slides in this section. So if my slide chaining looks a little off, I'm actually canceling my slides. I didn't get a slide cancel there. Okay. You can cancel your slide by pressing the jump button, which will make Mega Man stand up, or by pressing essentially backwards. I do a mix depending on the specific situation. As a Mega Man 6 speedrunner, I'm very well versed in slide cancels, so this section, you know, should be easy, and yet clearly I'm bad. It's okay though, we'll take it a little bit safer. This section is scary even if you're good at Mega Man 6. The reason I reference Mega Man 6 is because in Mega Man 6 you can't jump out of slides anywhere in the game. So if you run Mega Man 6, you get really good at canceling slides. That was kind of a sloppy water room, you know, not to mention the death. No big deal though. Like I mentioned earlier, we have tons of lives because of how many small enemies this game has. Gonna take a little damage boost there. Keep holding to charge up our Buster. I'm gonna grab this health and take it easy here. So we're gonna use an M-Tank now because we'll need it later. We're using it essentially early because then we won't have to refill Rush Jet, which we're using now, or Gyro Blade, which we're using now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now we have the aforementioned most annoying boss in the game, Cirque Ring Q9. So Cirque Ring Q9's movement pattern is the same every time, but the pattern of Cirque Ring opening and closing its doors is random. Oh gosh dang it. So we just kind of hope for the best. We hope for a nice pattern. Okay, that was decent. I mean, we got through it, so whatever. Now we're done with all of the major, like, stages in this game. Wily 3 is just refights. That's pretty much the entire stage. So we're gonna be starting with the capsule on the far middle right of the room, is Napalm Man, and kind of working our way around, but I don't know, honestly, I'm not feeling refights. I guess we'll see how I feel after I finish Napalm Man. Use Buster, so you want to be careful here you don't slide. If you accidentally slide, you can end up in that top capsule, which ruins the refights route. So this Napalm Man is basically the same as before, and yeah, I'm really not feeling refights. Oh well, I guess maybe I just won't do the rest of them, honestly. Yeah, let's just not. I'm just gonna play with some super arrows instead. I guess you can call, you know, this run DNF. Oh hey, we're in the Wily capsule fight! I apologize for, you know, that bad setup for a bad joke. This is the Wily press. Oh, I messed up. We just skipped refights by clipping through the wall by using the super arrows. This is the Wily press though. Wily press can wiggle 3, 5, or 7 times. On any cycle, we're just hoping for good patterns, and then we're gonna hit it with Star Crash. Hitting it with Star Crash is a little bit finicky. But we make do. It helps if you stand about here, so that you can dodge Wily to the left or the right, depending on where Wily stops. My biggest tip for this fight is don't jump until the bottom of the screen is done scrolling up. If you jump while the screen is still scrolling up, Mega Man is going to do a super short jump, and you're not going to be able to hit the press, because the hitbox of the press is on top. The, bottom yellow section is not... Dang, that's 2 missed stars in this fight. No big deal. Okay, that was the Wily press. I misspoke earlier when I said it was the Wily capsule. Now we are moving on to the final stage of the game, Wily 4. We're gonna have the Wily machine, and then the Wily capsule. So one thing I kind of like about this game, just a little design thing, is how the weaknesses for these 2 final Wilys are basically this game's special weapon. The first weakness is Super Arrow, and the second weakness is Beat. So the Super Arrow, there isn't really much to say to, it's just kind of hitting it in the face with Super Arrows. You do have to be careful about how you time firing the Super Arrows. Because of the Super Arrow's long wind-up time, it's rather difficult to hit this machine perfectly in sync with its iframes. What's really interesting about this fight is Beat. So, how Beat's tracking works, I promised I would explain this later in the run. Essentially, Beat will start tracking, like, I don't know how it works with multiple enemies on screen. Beat will start tracking when it is not moving in its neutral position. Its neutral position is that spot behind Mega Man's shoulder. So in order to do this fight, we're basically going to be doing jumps like that in order to set Beat back to its neutral position as soon as possible. Also, chat, please spam Borb W until the run is over. So our goal with every phase, or like every, appearance of the Wily capsule in this fight is to get what we call a 2.5 cycle. A 2 cycle is obviously where Beat hits Wily. A half cycle is what Beat just did there, where Beat tracks the Wily machine. If you don't track, it's impossible to get a 2, and therefore a 2.5 on high spawns. Also, time is going to be coming up on when Wily's health bar hits 0. There better be a lot of Borb W's in chat right now. Time is now. Oh, I see a lot of Borb W's. I'm very happy. You've done well today, Twitch chat. You've done very well. So yeah, that was Mega Man 5. My name's Protomagicalgirl. Drop me a follow on Twitch and stuff if you like Mega Man. I like Mega Man. I hope you like Mega Man. It's a game with shots that get fired. Particularly between fake and real Protomans. And so, next up, because the schedule is ahead, I'm going to do a bonus run. So if you're tired of me, I'm sorry. We are actually going to do Mega Man 1. So if you just give me a minute to get that set up, you don't even need to transition back to like a setup layout or anything. Nice corruption.